brilliant. So thank you so much, Anna. This is Anna,
Good.
everybody. And Anna has kindly sent me over some of her portfolio to have a look at. I've got my notes over here, so if I'm looking in two ways, that is why. The good news is, you see my screen all right? Yeah. Just Googling Anna Rickards, you are the first thing. So woohoo! And I even tried this at home before on an incognito window on Chrome to make sure. So tick first thing up. I noticed that you sign your work Anna Rickards, and if you search Anna Rickards, you are the first result. So that's a major, major win.
Ideal.
Exactly. My very first feedback here was that as a with my client brain, my client hat on, when I jump on your website, the first thing I see is nothing about live illustration. So I thought, oh, maybe it's like hidden in illustration. But then I had a look at this more narrative, more children's stuff. So I was a bit like, okay. And then that's as far as I got. And I feel like in a client's brain as well, they might do the same thing. So it was just, I know you didn't even submit your website. You give me like the PDF.
No, it's because I'm in the process of baking a new one. Basically, this is my old website. I've actually got a meeting about this later, about turning it into a much more like live illustration centered website, which is what I'm going to then share when I'm speaking to people. Because obviously at the moment it's like there's nothing about it. This was when I was doing more like editorial stuff, so that's what you see at the moment. So with my Instagram, I'm trying to almost like change my branding identity a little bit and just showing more like infographics and stuff.
Oh, that's fab. Then you like beat me to it. You're a step ahead, because I was just going to say, like, as a client, your website isn't saying I'm a live illustrator, and then I would be worried that they might think you're not a live illustrator and that you're just kind of trying out to see what the crack is. And like the thing with social media is brilliant, but I feel like if you worked for a brand or if you're working in events organization, still scrolling Instagram probably would be a little bit frowned upon, whereas going on a website to look at stuff, you're not going to feel like you're skiving. So it's always good to prioritize the website, which you're doing. So that's amazing. That is that. Let's have a look at your infographic, your, what do you call it? PDF. If I make that bigger, can you see it more? No, it's not doing anything. Okay. I zoom. Amazing. So I'll clip out the bit with your contact information, unless you want it on there. Is it okay for people to see it?
I don't mind, yeah.
Okay. Everybody email Anna. No, don't really.
Yeah, everyone call me at my private number.
Yeah. So this is brilliant to see in your infographic work that you did for the John Innes Centre. You've put a little bit of bullet points here. My only, like, it's probably like pointless feedback, but I would say less words are more when it comes to your portfolio, because they're going to see that it's an infographic. But you could say infographic, and then even just instead of writing for the John Innes Centre, having their logo at the bottom.
Yeah.
You could even have a thing where it's like 3 icons, so like what the job was, who the client is, where they shared it, and then clients can easily see like boom, boom, boom. Okay, because that's all they really want to know.
That makes sense.
Bit, as illustrators, we're super interested in this bit, but clients don't know what Procreate is. They don't really know what that means, so they just be like, it's a video. I made a video of it.
Yeah.
Even include like, I think I mentioned that where the client shared it, because that is the bit they're really interested in. Like clients want you to make them look really good, and the way that they look really good because of you is by sharing your work. So if you can grill your clients afterwards to find out where they did share it, like was it on LinkedIn? Did they put it on, I don't know, on a big screen, or people in the room saying, oh my God, like that's the sort of writing that would be really useful to have on there, rather than talking about Procreate and stuff.
Yeah.
These also gorgeous barnwood things. So was this created after the live one on the boards? Is that what
this was like condensed, all the info that was on the boards kind of like condensed, and this was then shared, I think, within their like social media as well.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
That is cool. So that's that one.
That was a fun one.
Yeah. And you got your infographic for the John Innes again. So I suppose if there's more than one piece for the John Innes Centre, you could kind of put them on sequential pages and just have John Innes Centre infographics, and then these can be big and be like the main thing people are looking at, rather than rewriting the same words. And then even this, it wasn't super obvious that this was almost like the process that fed into that one.
Yeah, maybe I should put them together.
Yeah, you could even have like, you could have this tiny and be like you were information harvesting on site, and then that you went away and worked it up into this, which they shared everywhere, and it was really well received, because that'll help people especially if they're maybe a little bit nervous about the live thing. That would probably put their minds at rest. Then John Ennis again. Wild Scotland. I remember this one. Who's this? Illustrated Live.
A classic.
A classic. Then John Ennis again. And KCIT job. Yep. So again, yeah, I think it would be really helpful separating this information to make it really like the client's logo, the title of the job, and then how they shared it afterwards. So like what the output was. So like it was an animation. And you could even illustrate that, like have an icon, an illustrated film or a clapperboard or whatever.
That'd be good, actually. It's a bit wordy at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's just there's things about like how wide text is and how readable it is. Like something like the narrower it is, the easier it is to read. So if it was 3 short columns.
Yeah, just like lay it out in a pleasing way rather than having to read, because a lot of it is the same anyway. If it's like a project that I've done, John Ennis is just the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is almost like a big case study, the John Ennis. So rather than sprinkling it throughout, just have it all together.
Condensed in one, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Because it's really interesting content as well, like neurodiversity and the infographic thing. Because it was an infographic and a time lapse. I wonder as well if you'd be possible, you could have like a link to the actual videos, people can see some.
Yeah, that would be nice to share the time lapse to see, because it's kind of like a fun process to see it being drawn. So if I was able to share that as well, people would get a sense of like that aspect of it as well. Yeah,
definitely. It's much easier to show them than say it's an animated time lapse explainer video. They'll be like, oh, what now? Oh, I just click it and it works. That's cool. Yes, you can flex your skills that way. So that was a quick glance at your work. So I was thinking, yeah, that bit I said about where do clients display your work so you can really encourage future clients that it's a useful, practical, valuable thing. I know on Instagram, let's move to Instagram, that's what it was. So I love that you've got your pinned posts at the top, super strategic, very good. What was I gonna say? Yeah, it seems from looking at your portfolio and from this, it seems the barnwood job is the only one where you've been like in the room drawing live. So that as a client, I might be looking at that and going, oh, this is early days. There's nothing wrong with that. It just means that's because the clients are scared and they're nervous, and when they're looking at your portfolio or your website or your Instagram or whatever, they're kind of looking for red flags or anything like that. So a way around that, would you be up for doing, like if you've got a photographer friend who could take photos of your drawing, or could you like create some live work? So just to kind of display.
I spoke to somebody who potentially would be able to do like a collaboration of, because he's doing like a conversations club kind of thing. And I was talking about maybe live scribing one of those. So like if I went to that and I kind of worked with them, that might be a nice way to just have some more, because obviously when I'm talking live illustration, it's just the one gig and I'd love to do more. So I'm thinking, like even on a smaller scale, just getting more photos of me doing it out and live and having more projects like that would be helpful.
Yeah, 100%. Like photos, especially professional photos by a real photographer, it hugely changes your positioning, because in our human reptile brains, we're like, good photo must be good illustrator, like somebody's taken a photo. So you definitely do. That's a brilliant idea. And that collaboration with your friend doing the conversations project, that sounds like a winner. And then you can spam your Instagram, and obviously your new website will be like, I am a live illustrator.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm going to kind of open with, and have maybe like all the right like tags and SEO, because I think my main issue is just like I'll do one really good gig and I'll really enjoy it, and then I'm kind of sharing about it, but it won't necessarily snowball into like other gigs that happen after that. So it's like it's difficult to keep the ball rolling almost.
Yeah, that is a thing. I mean, it's really good that you are sharing, because I think a lot of people fall into the trap of doing work and then never ever sharing it. So you're a step ahead there that you're sharing it in the first place. I think it is just a case of getting more pictures, like photographs of you working live, especially because you mentioned in here that you don't mind traveling for work, and like like clients are still quite old-fashioned, crying out for people to be there in the room. Like I spend most of the time convincing people it's going to be fine, the tech's going to be fine. So if you're up for traveling and you can do it, and make your life easier, let it be easy, rather than it's fine. And in terms of visibility and things, I know you post on LinkedIn. That's a brilliant one.
Yeah, I've been very annoying on LinkedIn because I keep posting like loads of stuff, and I think my sort of engagement has gone up. Like people add me all the time on LinkedIn, which makes me feel like fun and popular. But then I guess in terms of like landing the gigs, it doesn't always translate so easily. So it's like I think it's just probably a question of patience, just waiting for the right people to find you.
Yeah, I mean, there's that thing as well of being really visible, but then having somewhere for them to land that really reassures them that you're going to do a good job on your experience and things. So I think making those tweaks, like having more examples on your Instagram and your website and more photos of you working are going to be brilliant for that. And also in terms of the work itself, I was thinking hierarchy, and you'd have come across this anyway because I know you've been to art school and everything, but basically like, big things are important information, small things are less important. And that can really help with map shock. So the map shock's when you see a live illustration or a graphic recording and it's like, oh, all the information at once. So like this one is gorgeous, but I do think there's a tendency, I mean, you yourself, it might feel, if you saw this for the first time and you hadn't drawn it, there's a lot happening. And I can see you've used containers, but even just kind of revisiting how you use containers, how you use color so color can connect things, and also containers can as well. And if you can think in a grid, like lining things up a little bit, that can help.
Because I think sometimes I would struggle with either it being like really mashed in, or then having like finishing up talking and realizing there was like a big blank bit that I had to somehow fill in with stuff. So it's like, I think the grid system is quite good.
Yeah, but I think the main thing that would help you the most with like feedback for this sort of thing would be hierarchy. So just even before you get started doing a big drawing or a big feature piece, and then working the rest of the illustration around that can kind of anchor it, and it has something big, bit of a wow factor even before the event begins. Like if you had, so I know you've got panel discussion on a ribbon, but if you had like panel discussion across the whole top of the board and it was like a solid color background, because your ribbon's gorgeous, but it could be a bigger deal, so people know that that's the title. And then you're thinking about the time. I'm sure the panel discussion, what was it, like 2 hours, an hour, or something like that?
I think it was like 2 hours or something. It was like the second half of the day kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost harder with the longer ones because there's so much information.
Because I was going around with like a whiteboard and kind of noting stuff down and then putting it around in like different things afterwards. So but then I think these ones, the feedback I got on the day was like it's good, but like it's really, really crowded, which is like absolutely true. It's like a lot to look at on these boards, I think.
Yeah, and it's really counterintuitive, but you almost have to be like really ruthless about leaving things out, and it can feel so scary on the day because you're like, oh, what if that was really important? I'm not drawing it. But the client hires us because we're visual, because we're creatives. So you drawing a big person, I don't know, pointing at a light bulb. I don't, it's a terrible example, pointing at a light bulb, but you get what I mean, like a big drawing of somebody doing something that draws your eye in, and you're like, oh my God, cool, a drawing. And then using arrows, connectors, hierarchy of big titles, smaller subheadings can help organize the information and guide the eyeball around the work. And this is what, like, I'm telling myself this as well because I forget and I just go mad, and then I'm like looking at the work afterwards like, oops.
Because when you're there on the day, like, but then I think using like little symbols helps so much, and like little arrows, and then just putting things in a nice organized way. Otherwise you kind of just have it just like all over the place, crazy mind map style.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's tricky with boards, because you can't just do like a block of color as that section and a block of color with that section. Because I was going to say, like, here's a terrible, maybe I stop sharing my screen. So for instance, if I was going to do a 1 hour or 2 hour even thing, I still do this. So I'll be like, can you even see that? I'll be like, that's going to be the title. And then I would be like, okay, the first 20 minutes, this is terrible because of floppy paper. Hang on, I've got to go bad. Maybe if I just write it and then I poke at it and point at it when I'm done. So I'd be like that, and then that, and then that, and then that. So I'm like title, and then maybe the Q&A or whatever it is. This is a very ropey example.
Yeah, like the chunking, the putting it into chunks.
Exactly, the chunking is magic, and then it stops you because you're like, I filled my chunk. I have to stop. And just going by the watch, and that is also helpful because if an event goes over, like if they're running over in a section, they generally have to stop at the end. So like going by the overall time rather than looking at their agenda too hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
in the middle. But then also you could, so your title's going to be gorgeous, of course, and then you'll have your logo there, maybe the client's logo there, but you might want to have like a big drawing of something here, like something exciting.
Something to fill in, yeah, like as decoration almost.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be like, if it was an NHS thing, this might be a drawing of people with masks on doing medical stuff. I don't know. Yeah, you'd be gorgeous at that anyway. And it can also help to have arrows. I mean, you know this, but like just telling people, and if there's like a thank you or whatever at the end.
Leading the eye almost, like in the direction you want them to go.
Yeah, like people just sort of like, start here, finish there, done. And then they know that they've seen it all and they're not going like,
Exactly, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then having titles for each section as well. So you've got like your big title and your subheading that can help organize the information.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You're almost like using your left and your right brain, because you've got your listy left brain getting the titles and the sections, but then your right brain can be like a big drawing of a doctor or like a snail. So
the best just like have fun with that side of it. Like, so it is something that like people can look at that's nice as well.
Yes, 100%. So I'm going to go on to business and strategy, like whistle stop tour.
Oh yes.
So we talked about your ideal gigs. So basically, once you've tweaked your portfolio, you've got some new bits of work in there, you've got gorgeous photos of your face, and not your face, like your face will be in there. You're drawing in real life. Your clients will be soothed that you are a live illustrator, you're not pretending or trying it out for fun. Like you've said that universities and conferences, things like that, universities are a brilliant one, because academia, they love illustrators, they're crying out for illustration and visual people. And the other nice thing is they're such a tight-knit network that once you get in with one academic and wow them and do a brilliant job, you'll work with other ones. It's kind of guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like, I don't know if that many live event illustrators like working in Scotland. So I don't know if that would necessarily be like kind of an untapped market almost of people that like, I know that there's kind of a need for it, and it's just about finding the right people to kind of approach about it. Because I'm sure there are opportunities that are going about, like the recent one in Glasgow, it was Strathclyde Uni, so like stuff like that would be perfect.
Absolutely, yeah, there's like a handful that I know of, but yeah, competition would be low, and if you can dial in on that and be like, I'm in Glasgow, hello, hi,
I will be representative of Scotland for live event illustration.
Yeah, and it's a personality thing. Like, I don't enjoy pitching, but if you're up for pitching, go for it. Like, what have you got to lose? You could do 100 rejections around it.
Yeah.
Email 100 universities in Scotland. Is there 100? There's not 100, but you know what I mean. 100 people.
Like,
you can find.
People. I think that would be good, because I just wasn't sure if like cold approach emails worked, because like every time I try it, it always feels like you're met with like, oh, that sounds great, but we're not really looking for that kind of thing. Yeah. But I'm sure some of the time it will probably work.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll be honest, it's not really ever worked. And that's why I don't do it. But I feel like it's partly my personality and things. Like, I always have a way better time if my portfolio is there and somebody just trips over me and they're like, oh, yes, I want to work with you. Like, that's a much nicer energy.
That's what I want to have happen, I think. So I think maybe it's about curating everything that people are seeing online and then putting myself out there to be discovered by the right people, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think you're already doing a brilliant job of visibility and getting discovered. Even like just your LinkedIn stuff and your Instagram things, I think it will be a case of just having a lovely place for the people to land when they do find you.
Yeah.
So that they're really reassured.
I like the way that you've had the kind of way that people can write with their project and their budget, because then they can write to you with like pitch you directly. So I'm thinking something similar, so it's not just like, oh, send me an email. If I could do like a Google form almost and have people write in Google form, something like that, or Linktree, something of that kind of thing, to have people find me basically online.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to that. Like, I've had in the past just a form where it's like, put your email address in and write a message, because I wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to get in touch and not have to like click things and tell me all the information. But it got to the point where like the back and forth was really annoying, because I was like, you didn't tell me what date it's on. I don't know if I'm free. I don't know how much money you've got. So that leads nicely into pricing, actually. And I would say, I know you included your pricing on there. I would be interested if you could experiment with this, because you've only got one proper live illustration thing in your portfolio. You're still at the start of your journey. And the nice thing about that is that you can experiment with pricing. You've read the pricing article that I wrote, and you know like what the bare minimum would be on that. And you can start around there, but then once it gets busier, like when you get too busy, you up your rates and that'll quieten it down. And then because you'll be getting more of a track record. You'll have names behind you, like logos and things. So it's almost like a dance. Like you do have to start here and then work up to it. And I think maybe that might be worth bearing in mind as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to just like working with whatever people have. A lot of the time, certainly in this beginning part, because I've done projects and stuff, but in terms of the live stuff, there's only really been one that I've done. So I'm hoping with my immediate network, just reaching out and saying like, oh, I'm happy to do this for reduced price, or I think my friend was talking about just taking some of the ticket sales money kind of thing, and I would just be there, and it just gets your visibility up and gets you out and having people see you and stuff, and that's
exactly. And absolutely don't do that forever. Like this is a starting point, and you know that because you're intelligent. But like if it's getting good photos, if it's getting logos, you can go to the lower end of the pricing and be strategic and then build it up.
I think that does make sense, because otherwise you just end up like
not getting anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You just feel like you're pricing yourself out almost. But I was going to show you, I made my business card.
Amazing.
I've got
nice.
QR code. So then it's just getting out into and meeting loads of people, and then just making them aware of you existing, I guess, so that they know to come to you. Because I want, as soon as people type my name, I want that to be the first thing they see is like, oh, live illustration, that's very clear. And then being able to contact me very easy. And then that's kind of how you get the ball rolling, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And you're well on your way to that. I think it's so exciting that you're getting your website looked at as well. It's going to be so valuable.
It's so embarrassing. I'm like, you saw my old website and just like nothing's been done on it.
No, I was like, let me Google Anna and see what comes up.
It's interesting. It's good that like all those things come up so quickly, because it means that if people Google me, it's like very easy to see. But I'm in the middle of like completely revamping my whole website, and then just having that streamline it to match my Instagram, and like having loads of photos of me doing like new projects would be ideal, because I think I'm just like rehashing the same 2 projects over and over again. So
that sounds brilliant. You're on track.
I'm on it. I hope so.
We're gonna have to close it there because I'm rushing off to a tech rehearsal. But if you've got any follow-up questions or anything, you know where I am.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. That's really helpful.
Everybody can go find you.
Yes. Okay. Gotta have people find me.
Yes. Brilliant. Okay, see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks, Anna.